Today we'll be getting started with the second half of the season here in year number 4 of the Chicago White Sox franchise here on MLB The Show 25. Before we get started, I do want to point out that this will be the last episode before College Football 26 this upcoming Monday. I don't plan on moving too much slower, though, in this series because we've got a lot of positive momentum. You guys have obviously really enjoyed this series since the start, so I don't want to move in too slow of a pace. We're currently 44-44, exactly 500 in the mix in the AL playoff picture, 3.5 games out of a wild card spot. We ended the month of April exactly 500. We ended May exactly 500, and here we are after June. Exactly 500. We'll see if the same ends up being the case in July as we get through the MLB trade deadline, the All-Star game, and everything leading up to the trade deadline. We've got a few guys potentially in line for the All-Star game with Ezra Valenzuela, Kyle Teal, and Luis Robert, all either first or second in voting for their position groups. Now, our schedule here in July is brutal. We've got the Dodgers and the Phillies, arguably the two best teams in the league. The Cubs, Brewers, Mets, all very solid. The Nationals are maybe the worst team in the league, but otherwise it's a really hard schedule. So if we finish 500 again, that might honestly be a win. Of course, the big storyline of June was the return of Edgar Quero, who missed the first half of the season with injury. He's back. He's looked pretty solid through his first 7 games, still getting used to the swing of things. But with him coming back, of course, the baseball gods give and the baseball gods taketh away. Just days before Quero's return, we lost 2 starters on the offense. Brian Ramos and Douglas Cato were put on the 60-day IL. Fractured forearm for Ramos and a torn Achilles for Cato. Ramos was really starting to play well. I mean, over the last month or so, he's been awesome, especially in the month of June over his last 10, hitting 342 OPS above 1,000. Douglas Cato missed the first chunk of the year with an injury, started off slowly, but was finally playing better. Obviously, the injuries have been a big issue for him. He's only played 171 big league games in 3 seasons now worth of action, but he was really starting to heat up. OPS above 1060 over his last 10. So if Ramos and Cato both shelved, Cato won't be back until probably June of next year. Ramos, we're looking at sometime probably at the end of August. The lineup is a little shorthanded, even with the return of Edgar Quero. The pitching, meanwhile, has been extremely stable. We've had a lot of movement in our rotation early in the series, but this year it's been the exact same 5 the entire season. Everybody's been healthy and everybody's played reasonably well, and the bullpen, for the most part, has stayed roughly the same as well. Let's talk about our wheel spins. In the last episode, we had Braden Montgomery, and for every walk he gets, he will get half a point of plate discipline. So for every 2 walks, he'll get +1 plate discipline. Well, unfortunately, he didn't draw many walks. He only drew 4 in the last episode, which is not a lot, especially after April, where he had like 12. So because of that, his plate discipline rating will only go up by 2. I was hoping to give it more of a boost, but it's still a little something. Would have been nice to have his walk rate from April, but it'll go up from a 58 to a 60. As for the division we spun for, we picked the NL Central, and there were certainly some interesting results, I must say, across the National League Central. We'll start with the Milwaukee Brewers. Christian Yelich, for every .5 WAR he got, he'll go up by 1 in potential. Doesn't really matter because he's 36, but I guess still something. Now, Yelich broke his leg, and he hasn't played since June 8th. Despite that, though, he did record .5 WAR in the month of June, so his potential will, in fact, go up by 1. As for the Reds, Hunter Green land on the elbow soreness spin. If he throws less innings in June than he does in May, then nothing happens. But if he throws more innings, then he'll get the wheel of Tommy John. And as you can see with some of these lawn performances, he did throw more innings in June, which means he has to spin the wheel of Tommy John. It's a 50-50 yes or no. If he lands on no, nothing happens. If he lands on yes, he's cooked. Hunter Green lands on yes. He will be getting Tommy John surgery. He will be out for the remainder of this year and probably all of next year as well. That is very unfortunate for a guy in Hunter Green who struggled for most of this series, but finally has gotten into a groove. It seemed like maybe the Reds were starting to get a good deal on that contract, but the next time he plays may very well be on a new team because he's a free agent after next season. Bryan Reynolds, meanwhile, he landed on the suspicious surprise wheel. If his home run rate and OPS improve, then he will be getting a 60-game PED suspension. And sure enough, both his home run rate and his OPS went up. So Reynolds will be suspended for the next 60 games. Not fun for the Reds or the Pirates, who are towards the middle to the bottom of the division trying to claw their way out. Now both of them will be without key players for an extended period of time. As for our spin, with Colson Montgomery and Luis Angel Acuna in the minors, a guy who's going to probably have to play more and play well is Daniel Schneeman. The people have been wanting the Schneeman spin, so here you go. Over his last 10, he's only hitting .219, but his OPS is in the high 800s. He's slugging nearly 600 in that stretch. He's done some good things this year, a walk rate of nearly 13%, but the contact has been kind of up and down. So we'll give Schneeman his spin here for the month of July, and ultimately, he will land on swinging for the fences, minus 20 contact, plus 20 power. So basically what he's been doing over the last 10 games will be amplified, where he's not hitting the ball often, but when he is mashing it. Now, as we've seen throughout this series, guys usually play better with the swinging for the fences spin. We saw it with Edgar Caro last year, so I'm interested to see if that ends up being the case as well for Schneeman. As for the division we'll spin for, it's our division, the American League Central. So that means we've only got 4 teams we'll show. And that'll start with the Detroit Tigers, who are currently in first place at 47-40. They're playing pretty well this year. It feels like, given what they've done in the past, they could be doing a little bit more. A guy who's played quite well for them, though, is Max Clark. When he's been on the field, he's been really impressive. 929 OPS. He's been phenomenal and is budding into a young star for the Tigers. Well, if he has a good month of July, his ratings could see even more of a boost. Spitting Image, change ratings solely based on performance, so he's going to need to play well here in July, but if he does, that could be big for the Tigers. As for Cleveland, they started the year slow, but they've won 7 of their last 10. It feels like they're on the verge of really starting to play well, and I think that's a good description of Cade Smith, whose numbers are not great this year, but he's only allowed runs in 1 of his last 10 games, so he's starting to come back to form after not pitching well early in the season. His spin ends up landing on the yips. So his per 9s will all go up by 5, but his pitching clutch goes down by 50. So he's not going to do well with runners in scoring position, but will do well otherwise, as his rating will remain a 91. As for the Kansas City Royals, they're a team who's just kind of been underwhelming throughout the entire duration of the series. And Cole Rakens is a guy who has been very underwhelming this season. His ERA nearly at 6, WHIP at 1.7, WAR barely positive. It probably shouldn't be. He has not been good. He's a free agent soon and is not choosing the best time to play poorly. Well, he lands on Spitting Image as well. Why does it feel like there's a magnet on Spitting Image? There's the same odds of landing on that one as anything else, but I feel like we get that way more. Nonetheless, he's going to have to pick it up in July or else his ratings could see a tumble. Minnesota, meanwhile, this was always sort of a bridge year for them in the middle of a transition. A guy who I feel like has been solid, but they could use more from, is Walker Jenkins, the former top pick. He's made some strides this year, but he's certainly got some work to do. The Twins could use a good spin from him, and they will not get that. Untouched. No change. So nothing will happen with Walker Jenkins here for the next month. So nothing bad, at least, but I think Minnesota could have used a boost for him, and ultimately they will not get it. We will start today with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dear God. Acuna, Betts, Guerrero, Gunnar Henderson, who's finally healthy and playing well, and then Shohei Ohtani as the top 5. Not to mention Alex Bregman will be back at the start of August. They're not the best team in the league, though, by record. That's the Phillies, who we will also play on the road in this episode. So we really are in for a challenge. But we'll see how we do in this series against the Dodgers. We would end up splitting the first 2 games, including the first game where we scored 12. But Romeo Sanabria broke his arm. So we're going to have to replace him, and we're going to go for a guy who's never played in the big leagues, in infielder Chase Meidroth, a player who obviously in real life has made an impact this year for the White Sox. His development's been a little slower in this series, but I think he's had a good season in the minors. Granted, he's in a little bit of a slump right now, but I feel like he really made some strides last season, primarily in Double-A. He's been pretty good in Triple-A. He will not wear his number 10. Instead, I guess he's going to wear 12 for now. 10 is taken by Demon Schneeman. What I noticed here is that our lineups against righties and lefties are super similar. Other than number 2 and number 5, it's all the same. So for now, Meidroth will play shortstop against lefties, and we might have him in there against righties as well, platooning with Jacob Gonzalez. And we'll player lock the last game, his big league debut. I definitely want to look at the box score of this game where we won 12-7. Oswaldo Escobedo went deep, as did Edgar Caro, his first of the year. Hosey, Rubio, Gonzalez all driving multiple runs. And Hagen Smith was pretty solid. He only allowed 2 runs. He's not the reason why the Dodgers got up to 7. Blake Snell, meanwhile, does not make it out of the first inning. Yikes. The offense then laid a stinker in the second game. In game 1, not only did we have 12 runs, but we had 18 hits. In this game, we had 2. Quite the stark difference. Gavin Stone, 7 innings of run ball. If only we could have donated some of those base runners from game 1 into game 2. Well, now that'll bring us into the third game. Drew Thorpe will be on the bump. He will face off against Yoshinobu Yamamoto for the Dodgers, as Chase Meidroth, the 26-year-old infielder, part of the trade package in the Garrett Crochet deal, will make his big league debut. He's the final player in that trade to make his debut. A little bit ironic because in real life he was the first to do so. But that means all 4 prospects who we got in that deal, Kyle Teal, Braden Montgomery, Wilkeman Gonzalez, and now Chase Meidroth, will all have made their big league debuts. Meidroth will be playing shortstop. He's a really solid defender, and I think that's where we're going to have him play primarily. He will bat out at the 7 hole, and as I mentioned earlier, he will face off against Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's been pretty average this year, 4.21 ERA, 1.4 whip. Not horrible, but not particularly great either. So we will go to Meidroth's first at bat, as he will come up here in the top of the second. Luis Robert, 2-run shot, puts the Sox on the board. Lou Bob with a chance of potentially making the home run derby, as Meidroth rips the first pitch, hits it well into center, at the wall. It is caught by Outman. I thought we had a chance to do something special there, but unfortunately not quite. Into the fourth, Oswaldo Escobedo homers again, and that'll make it 3-0. Behind 1-2, up the middle, not quite able to squeak out a hit, as Gunnar Henderson will make the play, and Meidroth's big league debut starts with him opening 0 for 2. Let's travel forward into his third at bat. We would have some offensive activity from both sides. Luis Robert, 3-run shot, making it 6-0. The Dodgers on the board. Ryan Ward with a solo shot, but LA now finds themselves down 6-1. Phil Maton on the bump. We know his brother quite well, Nick Maton, as this one is hit into center, and it's caught! James Outman with a nice out, man. I'm sorry, that was horrible. Robbing Chase Meidroth of his first career big league hit. I thought we had a chance for extras there, but James Outman has other plans, as do the Dodgers. Gunnar Henderson, 3-run shot. Jurickson Profar RBI single, and all of a sudden into the 9th inning, we've got ourselves a game. Tanner Scott, the lefty, on the bump. Meidroth better against lefties as he grounds it to short, and the play is made by Henderson. Meidroth has had some good swings. He's hitting the ball fairly hard, but he's 0 for 4 in his big league debut. Bottom 9, 2 away. Ezra Valenzuela going in for the save, but it's no gimme, with Ronald Acuna at third and Gunnar Henderson up with a 3-0 count. We'll see if Gunnar has the green light, the back-to-back-to-back MVP. And sure enough, he does. Over Meidroth, singles it into left, and the Dodgers tie it at 6. We were up 6-0 at one point in this game, but LA claws all the way back. We'll move into the 11th. Same score. The Dodgers could not win it in the 9th, and nobody scores in the 10th. 2 runners on and nobody out for Chase Meidroth. What an opportunity against Drew Rasmussen to potentially blow the door open in this game for your first big league hit. Up 1-0. This one is hit into right. Goes for a base hit. Runner looks to score. Play at the plate. Not in time! An RBI single in the top of the 11th for Chase Meidroth. His first big league hit comes at a huge spot in this game. And now we've still got runners on first and second with nobody out. Well, we would end up with a pretty big inning. Cody Hosey, RBI single. Kyle Teal, 3-run homer. But Gunnar Henderson would get one right back, making it 11-9. Zahir Hope is at second. And Mike Sirota, is this Mike Soroka's long-lost cousin? Is up here with 2 away against Brock Burke, looking for the save. We'll see if Burke can shut the door. And he does! God, I'm looking! The White Sox go into L.A. and win the series against the Dodgers, scoring double digits in 2 out of the 3 games. This is the same offense who got nothing going the first month of the year and was dead last in home runs. Now we're putting up double digits in multiple games here against the Dodgers. And LA's offense did what they could. They scored 9, but it's not quite enough. Luis Robert, 4 for 6, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. The standout, Escobedo homered again, as did Kyle Teal. The big one in the 11th. Drew Thorpe was actually quite good. It was not his fault. The Dodgers scored 9, 6 innings of 1-run ball. And then the bullpen nearly blew the entire game away. Gunnar Henderson homers twice, drives in 7, but also has his first error of the year. So he's kind of all over the place. Nonetheless, I will gladly take 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. That'll put us back over 500 at 46-45, getting set for a 3-game set against the Cubs. Kind of ironic that we have the Cubs here for the 4th of July series. We'll play the game on the 4th as we win the first one 4-1. Good start from Noah Schultz against Jose Barrios. Barrios goes 5 innings, allowing 3. Corey Julks at the top of the order with a triple and a home run. Playing really well in this game. Braden Montgomery drew 2 walks. Where was this in June? So that'll bring us on to the 4th of July game. Luis Castillo against John Gray. I wanted to make it a point to pitch with Gray because he's the only guy in the rotation this year who we have not used so far. Also, I kind of wanted to see the 4th of July hats, and it's fitting that we just passed the 4th of July in real life. It feels kind of fitting that these two teams are playing against each other because this is what the 4th of July is about. Grilling hot dogs, America's pastime, and hating each other, of course. Luis Castillo on the bump for Chicago. He has not pitched well as of recent. In his last 5 games, he is 0-5. And to think we actually went after him at a point in time this past offseason, ultimately landing on John Gray instead. Here's a look at both lineups, and here's a look at John Gray, who started the year off rough. He's pitched better as we've gone along. Numbers still are not spectacular by any stretch. 4.35 ERA, 1.34 whip. Jonathan India will get us started. And India grounds it to first. Look who's playing first base. It's Edgar Caro. We'll be seeing him there a lot more. He learned how to play first in the offseason. We haven't gotten to see him play it much because he's been hurt, but we will today. Dansby Swanson draws a walk. That's a base runner for the Cubs. Kevin Alcantara now up for Chicago. Not having a great year, only 218 as he goes down looking on the high fastball. But his strike zone is a little bit bigger than everyone else, given that he's like 6'6", maybe 6'7". Luis Castillo on the bump for the Cubs, signed from the Mariners this offseason, has not been very good. 5.04 ERA, 1.43 whip, and again, 0-5 in his last 5. Cody Hosey leading off, hitting 287. No home runs this year for Hosey. He's certainly not much of a power guy as it's grounded over at his second. India will not make the play. An infield single for Cody Hosey as he is aboard, and that'll bring up the all-star hopeful Kyle Teal. Belts that one over the glove of Swanson, and it'll roll to the wall in left center field. Since there's nobody out, we're going to play it safe. We're going to hold Hosey at third. I trust the middle of the order to bring him in. Trust the White Sox to get a big hit with runners in scoring position. In this economy, I don't know, that's a little bit bold. Luis Robert goes down looking on the low inside fastball. Good pitch by Castillo. That'll bring up Edgar Caro, who clobbers this baseball into left field. And Oppo Taco, 431 for Caro. 3-run shot, and the White Sox strike first. A 4th of July 3-run blast for Edgar. His second home run of the year. Boy, have we missed that swing. And the White Sox are in a good spot early in this game. He absolutely clobbered that ball, coming off of a historic rookie season in terms of his power. The first rookie catcher since Mike Piazza to hit 30 home runs in a season. Belts that one to make it 3-0. Dylan Cruz goes down on the sinker. A good end of the inning for Castillo, but certainly rough overall as Edgar Caro sends a missile deep into the left center seats, putting the White Sox on the board early. Matt Shaw draws a walk, slider well outside from John Gray, his second walk of the evening. Jose Azocar now chases the slider. Caro scoops it up, tags the base, 2 scoreless for John Gray. He's allowed a couple of walks, but no hits yet for the Cubs, as that'll bring us into the bottom half of the inning. We'll see if the White Sox can add to the lead. Chase Meidroth coming off a 3-hit game in the game against the Cubs to start the series. Belts this one into right center field. It'll bounce off the wall, and it'll go for a double. Meidroth is 5 of his last 6, dating to the big hit in his debut against the Dodgers, and is now hitting .500. The youngster showing off the bat, as that'll bring up Daniel Schneeman. Up the middle, that'll go for a base hit. Meidroth around third, heads to the plate, and the throw is well off in center field from Kevin Alcantara, and that'll make it a 4-0 ball game. Still nobody out as well, for what it's worth. Now Braden Montgomery up for Chicago, 2-2. Should not have swung at that pitch. Chases the low circle change. Cody Hosey now up for the White Sox, 2-2 again, and he lines this one into right, his second hit of the game. And now the White Sox have 2 on, 1 away, and they can really make this one look ugly early. Got to imagine the Cubs might be thinking about making a move with Luis Castillo, given that he's struggled a lot over the last month and is continuing to today. Or how about a double play? 5-4-3 from Kyle Teal. White Sox do add to the lead, though, with the single by Schneeman, and that'll bring us into the third. I don't know why Pete Crow Armstrong swung at that pitch. That was never going to be a strike. PCA barely hitting above 200. He has not become the player that he is in real life. Not even close. Jonathan India singles into center. The Cubs did not get a hit through their first trip down the order, but they start with one here on their second trip. India's on with 1 away. Dansby Swanson on the ground, could be 2. Meidroth, Escobedo doesn't throw it. I don't know why he didn't get rid of it, but he didn't. As Jonathan India slid at second base, he may have hurt his ankle, so he's going to be taken out of the game. Kevin Alcantara now draws a walk, thought about it, but ultimately lets it go. 2 on, 2 away for the polar bear, Pete Alonso, and he hits this ball high and deep into right. Cruz at the track, at the wall, it's gone! Big meat Pete barely gets it to scrape over the fence, but it does. His 13th of the year. He's missed part of the season with injury. When he's been out there, he's been awfully impressive, and the Cubs are back in the game, all because Oswaldo Escobedo didn't throw the ball on the double play. B.J. Murray up the middle with a base knock. Murray's been the primary first baseman without Pete Alonso, and he's done a really good job, so much so that he is staying in the lineup, whether it's at third or DH or elsewhere. Moses Ballesteros singles into left field, and this is getting ugly for John Means. After what should have been a double play, he's now let up 4 batters in a row. Matt Shaw chases the curveball, will make it out of the third alive. A rough finish for John Gray. His pitch count went way higher than it needed to. It's like he threw an extra couple of innings. And obviously allowing 3 runs. That's not good either. Edgar Caro singles early in the bottom of the third. Again, going into the opposite field. Caro 2 for 2. His average will certainly take a nice little boost. Oswaldo Escobedo belts that one over the glove of Swanson. That one will make it nearly to the warning track for a 1-out double as Caro makes it safely over to third. We are mashing the ball right now. If I'm the Cubs, I take Luis Castillo out. It's not like he's playing well as of recent, and his struggles are continuing. 1-2, Dylan Cruz goes down on the fastball. Second time he has struck out tonight. Chase Meidroth gets plunked. Instead of getting a hit, he just gets hit. Now the bases are loaded for Devil Magic Daniel Schneeman. Swings at a pitch he should not have, and it doesn't matter. Singles into center, 1 run scores, second looks to join, Meidroth to third. Everybody's safe. 2-run double for Daniel Schneeman. and it's 6-3. They're still not going to take him out of the game. 1-1 for Montgomery. Broken bat. The bat nearly went as far as the ball. Cubs barely get the out at second. I don't know why Swanson just didn't go to first. Pitching change into the fourth. No John Gray. Instead, it'll be Prelander Baroa. 2.93 ERA on the year. My thought process here is that John Gray was looking good early, but he was really slowing down there at the end of the third. The pitch count was getting high, all because Oswaldo Escobedo didn't throw the ball. I don't trust him to continue, so we're going to go with Baroa, who strikes out Jose Azocar. Pete Crow Armstrong now up for the Cubs, average down to 202. As he grounds this one over to short, Mydroff makes the play, and Baroa will retire the side. PCA unable to beat out the throw, although he was close, as the Cubs also make a change. Ben Brown, whose ERA is even worse than Castillo, 6.3. Neither pitcher pitches into the fourth inning. Cody Hosey leads things off. He draws a walk, doing exactly what a leadoff hitter should do. 2 singles and a walk today. He's reached on all 3 of his at-bats. Luis Robert up with 1 away. He's got a full count, and he launches this one into center for a base hit. The hits just keep on coming. That's 10 today for a red-hot White Sox lineup, who obviously had the impressive stretch against the Dodgers, and now this. 2-2 for Caro, swinging a miss on the fastball. He's not able to reach base for a third time, and the Cubs finally would get a scoreless inning. Into the fifth, Pete Alonso lines it into right, 6 up, 6 down for Prelander Baroa, who's pitched quite well. Still 6-3 into the bottom of the fifth. Dylan Cruz has struck out twice today. Cruz lines this one into right field, and this one is gonna fall! Bounces over the wall for a ground rule double, his 15th of the year. And so Cruz is aboard for Braden Montgomery, who grounds this one over to first. Alonso makes the play. Another scoreless inning for Ben Brown. Starters were not good, but the bullpen for both teams has been quite solid. B.J. Murray will lead off the top of the sixth. Baroa still in the game as this one is hit into left field. Montgomery makes the play. A leadoff single for Murray. First base runner allowed by Baroa. And so he is aboard. That'll bring up Matt Shaw with 1 away. Murray goes for second. Teal, the throw. In time! He got him! Say the line, kids. Part-time ball player. Full-time sniper. Count is full for Shaw. The 3-2 from Baroa, and he will reach base after all as he draws a walk. So Murray didn't even have to steal. Runner aboard, 2 away for Jose Azocar, and he goes down on the fastball. 3 scoreless innings for Prelander Baroa, pitching really well. Ben Brown, meanwhile, will also stay in the game for the Cubs here in the bottom of the sixth, looking for his success to continue, as that'll bring up Cody Hosey, looking to reach base for a 4th time this evening, and it looks like he will. Singles into right. All 3 of his base hits have gone towards that side of the field, the opposite side. None of them have been hit all that hard, but the guy just knows how to get on base. Kyle Teal now up for Chicago. The 2-1 swings at a pitch low, and it doesn't matter. It'll roll to the wall in left center. Hosey on his high horse, rounds third, headed home. The throw to the plate from Swanson is not in time. An RBI double for Kyle Teal as Hosey scores from first, and the White Sox now lead 7-3. 1 away here for Edgar Caro, looking for his 3rd hit, or possibly his 3rd home run. That's not a home run, probably, but it will go into the gap, and it should score Teal without much issue. An RBI double for Edgar Caro, and the White Sox make it 8-3. Could we be looking at another game in the double digits, perhaps? That'll bring up Oswaldo Escobedo. Has not played very well over the last month and a half after a good start to the year. But that one goes up the middle for a hit. Caro rounds third. The throw from Alcantara is a good one, but it's not in time. An RBI single for Escobedo, and it's 9-3. Why did they keep Ben Brown in the game that long? The decision-making by the Cubs coaching staff doesn't really make much sense. Jordan Wicks, the lefty, will come out of the bullpen. He has had a solid year, 3.46 ERA. As Dylan Cruz over to third. What a play by Shaw. Will they get to? No, not quite. Cruz safe at first for the fielder's choice, but still a ridiculous snag by Shaw, who will look to get the final out of the inning. It's Chase Mydroff who grounds it out. 9-3 going into the 7th. White Sox are in a pretty good spot. We already had Ben Joyce warming up. So instead of having, say, Jairo Iriarte go the rest of the way, we're going to have Joyce pitch the 7th. I guess the more reps for him, the better. And then have Iriarte in the 8th. As Pete Crow Armstrong leads things off. If it's fair, it's gone, and it does stay fair. 425 for Pete Crow Armstrong, just his 4th of the year. And the White Sox are only up by 5 as the Cubs cut into the deficit. Nick Madrigal, the former White Sox, hit 340 in his last season with Chicago back in, I believe, 2021. Draws a walk. That one gets away from Teal. With Ben Joyce, the guy throws super... Oh, it's a missed throw by Teal! He was trying to get it to Escobedo, and now the runner makes it over to third. So it's a wild pitch by Joyce, and then a throwing error by Teal. As I was trying to say, with Ben Joyce, the guy throws it hard, but you don't know where it's going. Joyce tries to get the out at home. He cannot. Runner safe at first. Everybody's safe as it's 9-5, and we're going to take Joyce out of the game. He doesn't even record a single out. So we're not going to bring in Iriarte. Instead, it's Penn Murphy, because I just want to make sure we get out of this inning alive. I don't want the Cubs to cut into the deficit anymore, and I don't fully trust Iriarte in this spot. Kevin Alcantara goes down looking yet again. That'll bring up B.J. Murray with 2 away, and he swings and misses at the sinker, gets away from Teal, who will make the throw. Cubs, though, add 2. They're going to make it a game, if nothing else, as it's 9-5 into the bottom of the 7th. Hosey looking to reach for a 5th time, and he does not. Goes into the opposite field again. That might be his hardest hit ball of the game, unironically, but it is caught. Now this is where we're going to bring in Jairo Iriarte, and we hope that he'll be able to go the rest of the way for us. 4.61 ERA in 54 2/3 innings. We've seen some good things from Iriarte. It hasn't been great, but he's had some good performances and has put together some good moments. Moses Ballesteros swings and misses at the outside fastball. Good pitch by Iriarte to get things started. Matt Shaw now up for the Cubs, and he goes down on the slider. Shaw seems to be aggressive with some of these breaking balls, a big reason why he hasn't really broken out as the former first-round pick. Here's Azokar, sends this one into the gap. Luis Robert tries to cut it off aggressively. It doesn't work, and so it'll roll all the way to the wall. Azokar stops at second. He's in for a double, and the Cubs get a runner in scoring position. 2-2 for PCA. He gets plunked! After the home run earlier, the White Sox throwing up at him. So Iriarte allows back-to-back base runners, and with him being in a jam, again, I don't fully trust him in this spot. So we're going to bring in Tony Santillan. The ERA is worse than that of Iriarte, but Santillan's a good pitcher, and I just have a lot more trust in him, even though he hasn't been all that effective over the last 2.5 months. Got him looking! A big punch-out. That's Madrigal, who doesn't even swing the bat. The White Sox get out of the inning as Edgar Caro hit him from the right side of the plate, grounds it over to second. Not able to get his 4th hit of the game. 1-2-3 for Jordan Wicks, and that'll bring us into the 9th. The White Sox looking to finish it off for good. We'll start with Swanson. Santillan still in the game as that one clocks in at 100 for the first out. 2 away now for Pete Alonso. Homered back in the 3rd as this one is flown into left. Montgomery under it. He will make the play, and that will do it. The White Sox win this one on the 4th of July by the final score of 9-5. The Founding Fathers would be proud of the offensive entourage performed here by the White Sox. We got things rolling early with the homer in the first inning by Edgar Caro. Our only homer of the game, but we scored 6 in the first 3 innings. We added 3 more in the 6th. Couple of homers for the Cubs from Alonso and PCA, but the pitching really was not great. We ended up with 15 hits. Caro had 3, drove in 4. Cody Hosey reached base 4 times. Schneeman had 3 RBIs and multiple hits. John Gray only goes 3 innings, did some good things, but then kind of fell off, and we decided to be aggressive, pulling him out of the game, a decision that I think paid off, given that we got 3 scoreless innings from Prelander Barra. That puts us within 1.5 of Detroit. They've lost 3 in a row, whereas we've won 3 in a row. We'll get through these next few games looking to sweep the Cubs and then the early games against the Nationals, who, again, are maybe the worst team in baseball. So hopefully we can put ourselves 4 or 5 games above 500 going into draft day. So the offense did not play quite as well in this last game against the Cubs, but it is a close one. We're up 3-2 in the top of the 8th. Bases are loaded with just one away for Chicago. Brock Burke on the bump against Jose Azocar, who pops this one up into foul territory behind 0-2. Hosey is under it, and he will make the play. We'll see if we can give the Cubs a taste of our own medicine. I know that's not the saying, but I guess that would make more sense in this instance. India 0-2, chops it to third. Hosey picks it up. Throw to first is in time, and the Cubs leave them loaded. Chicago, or I guess I should specify, the Cubs had a chance to do something there, but the White Sox don't let them. Brock Burke gets out of the jam as we go into the bottom of the 8th. Look at Corey Julks. 2 for 2 with 2 homers and a walk today. Corey Julks is as hot and cold as it gets. He has some spurts where he plays out of his mind. Over his last 10, his average, I think, is like above 400. His OPS is super high. He also has stretches where he forgets how to play baseball as he pops this one up into foul grounds where it is caught by Alonso. So the Cubs ended up having a busy 9th inning, and they would end up stealing this last game from us 4-3. Ezra Valenzuela blows the save, a rookie mistake, if you will, as the Cubs get a pair of home runs from Matt Shaw and Hudson Haskin to win the game. Unfortunate, we were in position to sweep our interleague rival, but it's not going to happen. Hagen Smith pitched a great game, 6 innings of 1-run ball, but it won't matter as Ezra Valenzuela blows the save. The Astros offer is a deal for John Gray. I don't know why they would want him, given that they're not a playoff contender. They're offering Zizek Pacheco, who's having a really good year in the minors. I don't think they would do that, so I'm going to say no. We split the first 2 games against the Nats, including the second game where we won 5-4. Luis Robert, the homer, drives in 3. Montgomery, 3 hits, brings home the other 2 runs. Solid outing from Drew Thorpe. One day before the All-Star break, and it is draft day. This is a pivotal one for us, given that our team is starting to see a turning point. We're hopefully going to have less and less top draft picks in the future. We've done a lot of work on these guys at the top of the draft, and there's a few different avenues that we could end up going. Normally, I like to pick a position player in the first round. I think it's easier to find pitchers. However, I like the idea of adding a pitcher early, getting a really good arm in the system, because I don't really think we have one. And I think there are some good choices. And we have to keep in mind, because Edgar Caro won the Rookie of the Year last year, we get an extra first-round pick with the Prospect Promotion Incentive Program. So we'll be picking 31st overall as well, which could potentially change our drafting philosophy. We may potentially want to look for a lower budget player in the first round. There's some good position players here too. Just because I wanted to add a pitcher early doesn't mean we necessarily have to. With guys like Shane Schmidt, Tom Ye, Tommy Dennis, and Lawrence Pokey, there's plenty of choices for us in the position player well, along with the starting pitchers such as Russell Lim and Cameron Roberts. Pick 9 in the first round, pick 31 in the first round, and then we own all of our selections after that. So let's get it started. The Blue Jays, who have had a lot of draft luck in this series, they got Antoine Sonnenberg last year, who hasn't played since May with a torn Achilles. But they have the number 1 pick again, and they will go with Tommy Dennis, the shortstop. Really good defensively. I think he's going to stick at short. The question is, what will his offensive upside look like? And that's why I preferred some of the other position players over him, but I get why they would pick him. Tom Ye, 2nd overall. Wow, I thought he was in play for us at number 9. The big first baseman from Chinese Taipei. I only learned after the last episode that that's not technically China. He ends up with the Twins, while the Royals get catcher Marcelo Alonso. Did not think Ye was going to go that high. That is surprising. Guillermo Castillo to the Angels. Cameron Roberts to the A's. That's a guy who we certainly were in on as a potential choice at number 9. Andy Vick, the first baseman, to the Astros. So these first basemen are flying off the board. Buddy Fitzgerald's a guy I wanted to scout late in the process as an option for us at number 31. He goes before pick 9. And then Brian Keogh goes to the Nationals. So the board, I think, played out pretty well, with our number 1, number 2, and number 4 players, according to our scouts, still available. I did not think Russell Lim was going to fall here to number 9. I think he's the real deal. I think he's worthy of being the number 1 projected prospect. I'm trying to figure out why he could have slipped. It could be his bonus demand, nearly $10 million. It could also be that he opted out of his physical exam. There's also Shane Schmidt. The comments seem to overwhelmingly want us to pick Shane Schmidt, and it's easy to see why. Scouts have him as the number 1 player in the draft, really good offensively. I want guys who can play multiple positions and have elite plate skills. I don't see that with him, but the offensive skill set might be too good to pass up. And then Lawrence Pokey. We scouted him as an option for number 31, but if we want him, we're going to have to pick him now. Switch hitting outfielder who's going to hit at the top of the order, good contact, and good plate skills. To think if we had the number 1 pick, these are probably the 3 guys we would have decided between. Do we pick Shane Schmidt, who's clearly the best offensive prospect in this draft? We've passed on blue chip hitters in the past, and it's backfired. We've also passed on projected number 1 picks in the past, and it's backfired, and Russell Lim is right there. So with the 9th pick in the 2028 MLB Amateur Draft, the Chicago White Sox select Shane Schmidt, a first base prospect from Connecticut. So ultimately, we go for the blue chip hitter. I know I said I wanted to add a high-end pitching prospect to the farm system, and Russell Lim was right there. I think he's maybe the best pitching prospect we've seen in this series. However, our scouts think that Shane Schmidt is next up. They think that he has a chance to be one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball, and that's not something that we can pass up here at this spot. I think he's a little rough around the edges with the plate skills. I wish he offered a little more defensively, but the raw offensive upside is just too much to pass up. As we turn on the film, it's easy to see why we picked him here. He dominated in high school. One of the most prolific high school hitters in the northeast part of the United States. I was curious to see how he would look at the MLB scouting combine in Arizona because I wanted to see how he would look against real major league prospects. Throughout batting practice, within the entire week, he consistently displayed high major league caliber exit velos. In the defensive drills, it wasn't perfect. And I think he's probably going to have to stick at first base, which isn't ideal, but we're going to have to work it out. And I think the defense can get better with the offense already being elite. It's something I'm willing to take our time with. In the combine games, he was excellent. He didn't homer in any of the 3, but he had 4 or 5 hits of at least 100 miles an hour off the bat. With his overall and potential range, it could be easy to think generational with him, and, well, I don't know if I want to jump the gun just yet, but I think this pick has a chance to be a very good one for us down the line. Where is Russell Lim going to go? He is still on the board, and it would take until number 18. He will be in our division going to the Tigers. So if we made a mistake passing on him, we'll know. Lawrence Pokey, meanwhile, goes number 22 to the Seattle Mariners, a team who consistently drafts well in this series. Clay Fullylove from the University of Alabama is the guy who I was targeting at number 31. Unfortunately, he goes a few spots before to the Philadelphia Phillies. There are still some good choices here with this number 31 spot, and keep in mind, it's almost as if we're playing with house money. It's because Edgar Carroll won the Rookie of the Year that we got this pick. This kind of feels like the sweet spot for the starting pitching. There's a lot of them here. Keep in mind, we do pick again fairly soon, though, at number 46. So we could look at a position player. I like Luis Mata, maybe a little bit early. Zeke Colbert is a guy I thought would go in the first round. I'm a little bit surprised he's still here. In the prospect profiles, I compared him to Barney Wagner in a lot of ways. I don't think he's as good as Barney, but I think there's some similarities. We could also look at the bullpen as well, kind of like what we did with Ezra Valenzuela last year. So with the 31st pick, the Chicago White Sox select Zeke Colbert, an 18-year-old third baseman from California. So we're going to double dip on corner infielders. Colbert, who I thought for sure would go in the first round, is the choice here for the White Sox. When looking at prospects, we've talked a lot about fit in this series. I want offensive players who hit for contact and can get on base. They can draw walks, they avoid strikeouts, and that to me is Zeke Colbert's game to a T. Smooth lefty stroke. We've gotten to watch him with the under 18 USA teams, and I think he's been one of the better contact hitters there. The power is not good. We're going to have to improve that. But I think with the contact and plate skills that he possesses at a young age, this is someone who you could find at the top of the major league order if all goes well with his development. That'll bring us to the competitive balance round. Some of the pitchers are starting to make their way off the board. Miguel Reyes is a guy I kind of like. He goes to Cleveland. Nick Sorensen, Bobby Parks I had my eye on. They make it off the board before our second rounder, as to shortstop Cletus Terrell, a player who we scouted quite a bit. So not many of the starting pitchers are left. There are a few of them. A lot of position players here who we didn't really go over. And we could always look at the bullpen as well. So I think there's quite a few options for us here in the middle of the second round. Last year we made the bold choice by picking Ezra Valenzuela here, a decision that really paid off. Could we go back to the bullpen again with a guy like Joey Smith, who we have fully scouted, or possibly Kevin Figueroa, who we have not scouted, but looks really good in his own right? Neither of these guys are as good as Ezra, but I think they could be worth it here at this spot, especially if we don't love any of the starters. With the 46th pick in the 2028 MLB draft, the Chicago White Sox select Joey Smith, a left-handed pitcher from the University of Arkansas. So we will go to the bullpen. I like the skill set here with Smith. Fastball tops at 99, solid off-speed stuff, and he does not throw walks at all. This is the exact type of pitcher I look for, so the fit is ultimately what leads me to choosing him over Kevin Figueroa. Arkansas had the best pitching staff in the country this past season. Their ace was Cameron Roberts, who ended up going in the top 5, a prospect who we really liked. And I think Joey Smith could easily carve out a role in our bullpen. Maybe not right away like Ezra, but if all goes well, I think he could be up here sooner rather than later, and we could be building something really well in the bullpen with some of these youngsters. Let's go through the rest of the second round now into the third. I think this class is super top-heavy. I think in terms of the very best prospect, there's a lot of really good ones. I do not think this class is deep at all. Maybe I haven't scouted enough, but I don't love the depth. Luis Mata was a guy who I would have looked at in the third round. I didn't think he was going to make it there, and sure enough, he does go to the Rays. I kind of liked Phil Cash. I know our scouts are lower on him, but I honestly thought he was pretty good. Alexis Rivero, starting pitcher to the Rays. We kind of thought about him a little bit. And now just a few more picks to go. We have not picked a starter yet. I wanted to come out of this draft with a really good starting pitching prospect, especially after trading away Rod White in the offseason to get Dylan Cruz. We haven't done that so far with any of our first 3 picks, but I don't want to force the issue. If the value is somewhere else, we're going to go with the value. In terms of the pitchers, there's not a lot left. Maybe Mike Benitez, possibly. In terms of position players, Brett Martinez was a second rounder back in 2025. Stock went down, but I do like the prospect. With the 86th pick, the Chicago White Sox select Mike Benitez, an 18-year-old lefty hailing from Kentucky. So we will look for a starter here with Benitez. He only has 3 pitches, and I think he's really raw. He's got a ways to go, but the upside could be quite high. He's got a 4-seamer, a cutter, and a sinker, currently topping at 95. He doesn't really have many major strengths or weaknesses, and his overall game has gotten better very linearly over the last couple of years. He's made very steady improvements, and if he continues that gradual improvement, then I think he could end up being a really good player down the line and could be a solid pick for us here in the third round. He was in play in the second round. It's just that I didn't really love the skill set, but here in round 3, I think the value is a little bit too much. That'll bring us into the fourth. Ryan Tobin, the outfielder with the Marlins, is a guy I thought about. Brett Martinez ends up going to the Chicago Cubs. But as I mentioned earlier, this is not a deep class at all, so we really got to dig through the scraps to find guys that we could potentially like. Rusty Kidd, high upside player. He was on my radar, goes right before us to the A's. So that brings us here at 116 with the 116th pick in the 2028 MLB draft. The Chicago White Sox select Seamus Garrison, a 21-year-old outfielder from Purdue University. We've discovered quite a few outfielders throughout this series, and we've gotten mixed results. Pedro Valdez in Season 1 in the third round has not really panned out at all, but Douglas Cato and Claudio Rubio have both given us production in the big leagues. I think Garrison could be better than some of those guys. I mean, for one thing, he's not made of glass like Douglas Cato. I think the offensive skill set overall is pretty solid. He hits for contact, he hits for power, he's pretty fast. I don't think he's a liability defensively. I think he could be quite good. And I thought about him in the 3rd round, but I figured he'll probably make it to round 4. I didn't want to risk it after that because I think he's very clearly the best player left on the board. Buck Brennan, a reliever from the Dominican Republic, is a guy I would have thought about in the 5th round. He ends up going late here in round 4 to the Boston Red Sox, who had a lot of picks because of all the compensatory picks they had from losing guys in free agency. Jermaine Clements, high upside outfielder, goes to the Houston Astros, and that'll bring us up here at 146. Again, there's not a whole lot of guys left. We're basically throwing darts on the dartboard. With the 146th pick in the 2028 MLB draft, the Chicago White Sox select Griff Delgado, a 20-year-old catcher from the Dominican Republic. I figured it doesn't hurt to potentially add some catching depth, and I think the floor with Delgado is reasonably high enough to where he can contribute in the minors early on, and then from there, you never know. Maybe we could get something out of him. I think the offense for a 5th-round catcher is really solid, especially his contact. Defensively, he is solid. I don't know if he would be able to hold up a catcher in the higher-level leagues, but certainly in Double-A, I think he could be a solid catcher piece for us, and hopefully we can make him into a little bit more than that. But again, it's a total dart throw here in the 5th round. Maybe he pans out. Maybe he doesn't. The name that I kind of had my eye on was second baseman Danny Slater. He was a 2nd-rounder last year. I kind of liked him as a prospect. Looks like he's kind of a dud because his ratings have tanked, falls all the way to the 5th, where it's the Braves who end up selecting him. Atlanta might have picked him last year, ironically. I guess they really like him. That'll bring us into the 6th round, and yeah, the amount of talent left, well, there will not be much in round 6. It really is slim pickings at this point. Not much to get excited about down the board. In terms of the position players left in the class, there are not many to pick from, let alone many enticing ones. As we look at the potential options for us, there are only 2 position players left on the entire board. There is a catcher and an outfielder, and that's it. A lot of pitchers, though. Got to imagine that's where we'll look here at this spot. With the 176th pick, the Chicago White Sox select Rufus G., an 18-year-old left-handed starting pitcher from California. So we will go back to the state of California, another lefty arm. All 3 of the pitchers we drafted today are lefties. I think Rufus G. has a pretty intriguing skill set. The ceiling seems kind of limited, but it is the 6th round, so what else can you expect? No relations to Alpha G, the Kansas edge rusher. They spell their names differently, so that's how I was able to figure that out. But Rufus G is the selection for us here in the 6th round. I think he could be a solid minor league player. And again, who knows? Maybe he ends up being a little bit more than that. So that will wrap up the 2028 MLB draft. I think we did pretty well. Kind of a weird class given that, again, it was super good at the top, but then really not deep at all. I'm excited to see how good Shane Schmidt ends up being. Could he be a generational prospect? It seems like it could be potentially in the cards if all goes well. Russell Lim with the Tigers. Did we make the wrong decision picking Schmidt over Lim? Then we added Zeke Colbert and Joey Smith with our next 2 picks, and we'll see if any of the other guys after them, such as Mike Benitez, can become anything good. We'll go through the process of signing our draft picks later in the episode. But now let's make it into the All-Star festivities. But before that, we've got one more game to get through against the Washington Nationals, looking to win the series. It would be peak baseball if we beat the Dodgers in LA, but then lose to the Nationals at home. We'll hop into this last game, scoreless in the 7th. Reynaldo Lopez and Noah Schultz both pitching out of their minds. The Nationals have loaded the bases here, though, for Darren Baker, as this one is on the ground over to second base. Oswaldo Escobedo makes the play, and the Nationals leave them loaded. Again, they're getting a taste of our medicine. Well, we'll get a chance with the bases loaded here in the bottom of the 8th. Jose A. Ferrer on the mound, 2 away, and Luis Robert is up. He's homered twice in this series, but has not been impressive in this game as he's currently 0 for 3. Lou Bob behind in the count, 1-2 against the lefty, and he grounds this one over to third. Going to be a tough play. Throw to first is in time, and the Nationals get out of the inning. A good play there by Ernie Clements. Ultimately, the White Sox would walk it off. The former National, Dylan Cruz, with a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth to win the game 1-0. A pitching duel to end the first half of the year. But we're off to a really good start in this episode. We've won all 3 series and are 6-3. Dylan Cruz, the only source of runs. Noah Schultz, 6 2/3 innings. His ERA now at 3.38 going into the break. 50-47, 3 games above 500 going into the All-Star break. We are only 2 back in the division of Detroit and only 1.5 back of the final wild card spot in the AL. Something that's especially cool about the All-Star break this year is, well, it's not this. Luis Acuna broke an ankle, out for a month or two. Between him and Colson Montgomery, Acuna's been way better at the 2 in AAA, so that is certainly unfortunate. The Brewers' offer is this gentleman, Timothy Cisneros, for Ben Joyce. We're going to say no to that. The ankle injury certainly sucks for Acuna because I was hoping to get him back up at some point. I mean, he's been hitting the ball quite well, 272, slugging 535. The one thing he isn't doing well is drawing walks, which is what he did do well in the big leagues when he's playing good defense, hitting for solid contact, hitting for solid power, and he's been better than Colson Montgomery, who's been pretty mediocre. I mean, he hasn't been bad, but considering he's practically an 80 overall, he should be more than a replacement level AAA player at this point. Anyway, as I was trying to say, what's cool about the All-Star week is that it is in our home stadium. Last year, I think it was at Wrigley. So back-to-back years in Chicago, which is kind of interesting. No White Sox in the home run derby. We do have Munetaka Murakami. How is this guy so good? Why didn't we get this at all in the Giants franchise last year? He was never this good at all. Maybe it's because he plays in Yankee Stadium. That might help a little bit. Shout out Willy Adames having a career year in his 10th season. And shout out Mike Trout turning back the clock. Currently the front runner for the AL MVP at 36 years old. Tied for his second highest WAR of the 2020s already. Kind of a weird cast here in the home run derby because a lot of these guys aren't necessarily like elite natural power hitters. I mean, the number 1 seed, Willy Adames, his power ratings are in the 60s. So I'm fascinated to see how it ends up here in our home stadium. Sucks that we could not get Luis Robert. I think the cutoff in the AL was 27 home runs, and he's at 26. So he just ended up missing out. Ultimately, our good friend Munetaka Murakami would end up winning the whole thing. He beats Mike Trout in the final round. So Murakami, the home run derby winner here in 2028. I am jealous that the Yankees get the good version of him. And last year in the Giants franchise, we got the, I won't say bad, I'll say the mediocre version of him. Anyway, that'll bring us into the All-Star game. We'll take a look at these All-Star rosters, and remember, the ratings are adjusted for the players who get in. Anyone below an 80 overall, your rating and potential goes up by 3. Anyone between 80 and 84, rating and potential go up by 2. Anyone between 85 and 89, it'll go up by 1. And these are the updated ratings, by the way, so this is after I edited them. Bowden Francis, the starter for the American League, a first-time All-Star, followed by another first-timer in Bryce Miller. The other most notable name to me is Christopher Sanchez, who we thought about trading for in the offseason after a down year with the Phillies. His price was not that much. Goes to the Rays where he's been fixed, probably because, you know, it's the Rays, and that's what they do. Ezra Valenzuela, an all-star as a rookie. His rating ended up going up by 2. He's now an 84. When we drafted him, I said it. I think he's going to be an all-star as a rookie, and I was right. Nailed it on the head. Ezra Valenzuela has had a great year. It hasn't been perfect by any stretch, but he's been one of the better closers in Major League Baseball, and at just 21 years old, there's no reason to think he won't continue to get better. A couple of the players like Johan Duran, I did not change their ratings because they do not belong here. Kyle Teal, first-time All-Star at 26 years old. Last year we had Edgar Caro make it. This year we have Kyle Teal make it. That's super cool, having both of our catchers in the All-Star game. Very similar numbers to last year in terms of his average OPS, home run rate. It's just that, well, this year he's been healthy. And that 6-year, $60 million contract that we gave him at the start of last year is looking more and more like a bargain by each passing day. When we gave him that deal, it was because I was confident he was going to break out, and I was right. I'm sorry, who is that at first base? Andrew Vaughn made the All-Star team. What in the world? He's bounced around, playing for 4 different teams in all 4 seasons. We let him go after year one, traded him to the Diamondbacks. We got back, Kyle Nelson, who's not even on a team. But he's had a really good year with the Astros. Tyler Locklear makes it as well as the starter. We thought about trading for him a couple of times. The Mariners offered us. We ended up saying no. Maybe we should have taken him up on their deal. The other White Sox to make the All-Star team in the outfield, no surprise, is Luis Robert. There was certainly a period of doubt if he would make it, considering it took him 3 weeks to hit a home run, and his OPS was in like the 400s until the end of April. But he certainly has gotten back on track in a major way. 4th career All-Star nod, 3rd season in a row for Lou Bob. I have no complaints with our team's handling of the All-Stars. I think they got it right. I think these are the 3 choices. I don't think anybody else really deserved it, and I'm happy that these 3 got on. I will say, though, across the rest of the league, I think they did a really bad job, and you'll see why, especially in the National League. There are some strange omissions. In terms of the pitching, Lucas Giolito back-to-back years. Aaron Nola, who has not made the All-Star team since 2018. That was 10 years ago. Finally makes it back. Julian Aguilar makes it. That's pretty random, but he's having a good year. Very well deserved. As for the pitching, Devin Williams, 4.58 ERA. Why is he here? Back, of course, in Milwaukee, but it gets worse. Keibert Ruiz is hitting 193. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Oftentimes, when it's those really bad players, it's because there's not anybody else on the roster. Well, the Nationals had another All-Star. They had James Wood, who ended up making it. So why is Keibert Ruiz there? Does not make sense to me at all. There's also a really bad snub on the NL All-Star team. The best player in the National League is not there. The current NL MVP favorite is Connor Norby, who's raking for the Marlins. He's not injured. Usually the game goes away from injured players. I think he might have had a minor injury that kept him out for the last couple of days, but he wasn't on the IL. He's the favorite to win the MVP. He's hitting 330. Why is he not on the All-Star team? That does not make any sense to me whatsoever. OPS above 1,000, hitting for great power, playing for a good team with the Miami Marlins. How is he not there? All-Star game in Chicago, in our home stadium. This is certainly pretty cool, especially for Ezra, Kyle, and Lou Bob. 4th career All-Star nod for Luis Robert. 1st for Ezra Valenzuela and Kyle Teel. None of our guys are getting the start in this game, though, so we will move forward all the way into the 5th inning. It is a 3-2 lead for the American League. Kyle Teel will face off against Aaron Nola with a runner aboard and nobody out. Teel with a loud ovation from the White Sox faithful as he belts this one into center field. Hit fairly well, but it will be caught for the second out of the inning as the play is made by James Wood. We're going to have Luis Robert come in as the very next at bat. The 2 White Sox players hitting next to each other in the lineup. So the same runner, Jock Peterson, is at first with 1 away. Luis Robert working a nice at bat here. It would be awfully ironic for a guy who swings at just about everything to draw a walk in the All-Star game. Well, instead he puts it on the ground, and it will be a double play. I guess that's fitting. Even in the All-Star game, our guys still cannot hit with runners on base. Let's move forward to their next at-bats. Devin Williams out of the pen, representing the Milwaukee Brewers. 2-time reliever of the year, both with the Brew Crew before going to the Yankees. As Kyle Teel draws a walk. He also doesn't draw many walks, so that's also kind of a surprise. 3-2 for Luis Robert. Pops this one up. And it looks like that one should be caught, and it eventually will, by Adley Rutschman. Game still tied at 3. Teel the potential go-ahead run. We'll see if the AL can bring him home and potentially take the lead. As Munetaka Murakami would get a single, Jeremy Pena brings home a run off of the sac fly. And with that, it's 5-3 going into the top of the 9th. And it's only right. We've got to bring in Ezra Valenzuela, the closer of the White Sox, to close his first of hopefully many All-Star games in his home stadium. Luis Ariz leads things off. He grounds it over to first, where Andrew Vaughn, I cannot believe I'm saying that, makes the play for the first out of the inning. That'll bring us to Tyler Fitzgerald, who's been awesome this year. OPS above 1,000, has broken out for the Giants. Grounder to third, Alec Boehm makes the play for the second out of the inning. Back up top, Jun-Hoo Lee, our good buddy, representing the San Francisco Giants. Back-to-back All-Star games for Lee. The 1-2. Grounded to first. Vaughn makes the play. Who would have seen this coming at the beginning of the series? That our rookie closer faces off against Jung-Hoo Lee, who grounds out to Astros first baseman Andrew Vaughn for the final out of the All-Star game as the AL wins it 5-3. Bobby Witt Jr., the All-Star MVP, 2 for 2 with a homer, drives in a pair. Hard to complain about that. Paul Skeens got the start. He didn't pitch that well. He allowed 2 runs and 5 hits over the first couple of innings. Lou Bob and Teal combined to go 0 for 3 with a Kyle Teal walk, while Ezra Valenzuela picks up the save, retires the side, does not allow any base runners. So with the draft and the All-Star festivities done, we are fully locked in on the second half of the season. We'll make it up to the trade deadline, and we start off in Philadelphia against the best team in baseball, the 64-32 Phillies, on pace for 108 wins. Then we've got the Brewers, who started the year off slow, but are starting to play a lot more like themselves. That series on the road as well. And then Kansas City and the Mets at home. So really a challenging schedule for us going into the deadline. We've won our 3 series so far today, 3 games above 500. We'll see if we can keep it rolling. Beforehand, though, why not take a look at the futures game rosters? We'll see if we have any prospects representing our squad. No pitchers, which doesn't really surprise me. As I've said, there's a reason why I want to add some high-end pitching prospects. Barney Wagner and Martin Burt, though, our most recent first-round picks, are both on the team. Quite a few international free agents I've noticed as well. Cool to see many of these subscriber-made players looking good as prospects. Anyway, let's hop into this first game against the Phillies. Top of the 8th, bases loaded for Daniel Schneeman, who hits this ball high and deep in the right center field. Back at the track, at the wall, it is off the wall! Not quite over the fence. We've got to get everybody running, and everybody is safe as Lou Bob makes it home. 2-run double for Daniel Schneeman, and the White Sox make it 8-6. That'll bring up Dylan Cruz now, facing off against Kevin Ginkel. The 2-1 pitch is skied high in the air, deep into center field. Back at the track is Crawford at the wall. It's gone! 424 straight into the dead center field batter's eye. 3-run shot for Dylan Cruz, his 13th of the year, and that could put the White Sox over the edge. Yet another game in the double digits as it is 11-6. We would not be done, though. In the 9th inning, 2-run homer for Edgar Caro. We would end up winning the game 13-7. This offense has put on some unbelievable performances over the last month or so. It's crazy that it felt like they were getting 13 runs within the span of a week at times in April. Caro and Cruz, the only home runs today, but we really hit the ball well. John Gray was okay, allowed 3 earned, 6 runs overall. We had 19 hits and 5 walks. That is a lot of base runners. Game 2, we lead 5-4. Edgar Caro, 3 for 3, 2 homers, 4 RBIs. Our home run total all the way up to 12th. To think we were in last for most of April. Caro will not get his 3rd home run of the game, but he will make it 4 for 4. Another base knock for Caro, who's hitting like 340 after that at bat. It was something ridiculous. Dylan Cruz, 2-run single. Luis Robert, 3-run homer. And we are back in the double figures again. It's 10-4. As Caro pops this one up into the outfield, and he will not get his 5th hit of the game. The White Sox, though, with another dominant performance, though, offensively, winning this game 10-4. And with that, we've won this series on the road against the best team in baseball with another game to go, looking for the sweep, scoring double digits in both games. This offense is really clicking, and even with the few days off because of the All-Star break, we have not missed a beat. Edgar Caro, 4 for 5, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, and 3 runs. He was ridiculously good. Montgomery and Lou Bob also go deep. Hagen Smith was not great. 5 innings, 10 hits. Still gets the win because we hit the ball so well. Now, unfortunately, we did not sweep the Phillies. We lost the last game. The offense did not put up double-digit runs. And that'll bring us here into this game against the Brewers. We're going to have Daniel Schneeman come in off the bench. He excels late in games, so I figure, why not get him up here in the 9th with 2 runners on and 1 away behind 0-2, and he goes down on the cutter. Brian Hudson has filthy movement, especially with the lefty-on-lefty matchup. So because of that, we're going to bring in a guy who hits lefties well in Corey Julks, who's on a 10-game hitting streak at the moment. 2-2. Grounder over to third. Good scoop at the hot corner. And the play is made to end the inning by Brock Wilken, a player who we almost traded for a couple years ago for Kyle Schwarber, instead getting Luis Angel Acuna. C.J. Abrams walk-off double in the 10th. Unfortunately, we lose. Robert homers for his 28th time, while Cody Hosey homers for his first time all year. Really good start from Shane Bieber. We get offered a trade here from the Dodgers. What could they want from us? A lot of teams seem to like Ben Joyce, which is sort of random. I don't really want Luis Urias, though. He's a 30-year-old infielder whose slugging percentage starts with the number 2 in the minors. Today is our first day where we can sign draft picks, so we're going to start with the guys who have interest in us. Joey Smith, the reliever, says no. That's unfortunate. We do get our first yes from Mike Benitez, and Seamus Garrison follows shortly thereafter. The next day, our first offer for Shane Smith. He signs for $5.7 million. Get ready to learn White Sox, buddy. Joey Smith would then say yes, and now we are down to 3. Rufus G, not making it easy on us, though. But we would sign Zeke Colbert as soon as we got the opportunity to offer him, and eventually Rufus G would say yes as well, leaving us with just Griff Delgado as the final player who we still have to sign. We would split the last 2 games against Milwaukee. We scored 6 runs total in that series after multiple double-digit outbursts against the Phillies. After scoring 8 runs over our last 4 games, we've got 8 runs today here in the first game against the Royals. 2 on, 2 away for TJ Friedl against Valenzuela. That one gets by Hosey for a base hit. We're tied. Ezra Valenzuela blows the save. He's blown a couple since the All-Star break. And now there's 2 on, 2 away for Jack Caglione, who's finally starting to come into his own as an offensive player. Behind in the count, though, 1-2. And he chases the high cutter coming in at 97. Valenzuela does blow the save, however, as we'll move into the top of the 10th. We could not get the walk-off in the 9th. 2 on, 2 away. Penn Murphy on the bump against Nick Lofton. Behind 1-2. Got him looking. Good work from Murphy, and now we just need 1 to win it here in the bottom of the 10th. We'll see if we can get the job done. We would not. Bobby Witt Jr. brings home a run in the 11th, so now we'll see if we can do the same. Cody Hosey at second base, 1 away. Miguel Lozano, the back-to-back All-Star, in for the save as Luis Robert draws a walk. Good at bat. And the winning run is aboard at first base. That'll bring up Edgar Caro hitting .326. Behind in the count, though, 0-2. And he will chase the sinker. That was not the pitch, buddy. It'll come down to Daniel Schneeman. Who else would we want up here? Since the wheel spin, Schneeman's hitting for really good contact, .286, but he only has a couple extra base hits. He's not hitting for power, yet he's hitting for contact. So the wheel spin has given us the exact opposite. 1-2 for Schneeman. Belts this one into the gap. When you need a big hit, you can count on Daniel Schneeman. It's an RBI double. We're going to keep the winning run, Luis Robert at third. But all of a sudden, he's 90 away from home. Schneeman ties it up. From there, they will intentionally walk Dylan Cruz. That sets up a force out at all bases. The problem is, as they bring Ben Kurdna in the game, the problem is Jacob Gonzalez is up for the White Sox. He hasn't had a good year, .218 average, only 4 homers. But he's been the king of walk-offs this year, as he's walked off multiple times and nearly does it again. But he swung too early on the fastball and the count is full. You know, if he walks, the game is over. So anything close, maybe don't swing. The 3-2. Gonzalez gets a piece of it. High and deep into center field. Do we get another walk-off from him? Yes, we do! A walk-off grand slam for Jacob Gonzalez. And the White Sox win it 13-9. Gonzalez, his third walk-off home run of the year. He's made for the moment. He's not that good of a player, but when the game is on the line, he always seems to deliver. Him and Daniel Schneeman. I don't get it with those two. They just find a way to make plays, though, when we need to make a play. The Royals scored 9 runs. It's hard to blame their offense for this loss. We had 17 hits and 4 walks. Gonzalez, obviously, with the big homer. Escobedo and Luis Robert go deep as well. Rough game for Hagen Smith, though. He did not make it out of the second inning. Ouch. So we would end up losing both of the last 2 games against the Royals. We lose the series. And that brings us here to 3 games against the Mets. Chicago leads it 6-7 as Juan Soto goes down on the sinker. Great pitch by Valenzuela. Soto only hitting .228 this year. He has not been worth the price of admission for New York. Vientos on the ground. This could do it. Rivera airmails the throw. Not even close. And the Mets tie the game. That should have been a game-sealing double play, but a throwing error by Emmanuel Rivera keeps the Mets alive. They tie the game. Go-ahead runs now at third for the former White Sox, Kyle Schwarber. Gets by the third baseman and the shortstop, and Braden Montgomery. What is he doing there in the outfield? Instead of an RBI single, it's a 2-run double for Schwarber, and it's 9-7. We're going to take Ezra out of the game. It's not really his fault, though. The defense is completely selling him. But I'm going to bring in Penn Murphy here with Valenzuela not able to get the save. Ryan Clifford, that one bounces fair. It'll score Schwarber, and that'll make it 10-7 as he is safe at second base. All because Emmanuel Rivera could not make the throw. Francisco Lindor hits this one into left. Montgomery will get to this baseball. He will make the play. But the White Sox lose this game 10-7. Cannot have errors like that in this spot in the game. Emmanuel Rivera, who's primarily a third baseman, he should be able to make that throw. Wasn't even close. It's not even like he barely missed it. Like, it was way off. Not a great game for the Mets pitching, though. He scored 7 runs. Homers for Teal, Bemo, and Chase Mydruff with the first of his career. Good start for Noah Schultz. Bullpen, not good. The Nationals offer is John Gray for Trevor Larnach. I don't know why. Larnach's actually having a really good year. Could be a nice trade asset for the Nats. But why would they, one of the worst teams in the league, want John Gray? So we'll hop into this next game here against the Mets as Cody Hosey draws a walk here in the bottom of the 8th to load the bases against Jose Butto. We'll see if Luis Robert can bring any of these guys in, potentially look to give us the lead as he swings and misses at the slider. The lack of plate discipline hurting there. The Mets will go back to the bullpen. Butto is out, and Adbert Alzolay, whose ERA is barely above 2, will come into the game. Big spot here for Edgar Caro, who gets that one to third, but a nice catch on the liner by Brett Beatty will keep the Mets ahead and ultimately help them win the game and the series as they take it 2-1. Our offense is so weird. We've had some really good games in this episode, but we've also had some really bad ones. Hasn't been a lot of consistency. This is another one of those really bad ones. The former White Sox, Eric Fetty, goes 6 1/3 scoreless. John Gray gets the loss. Not his fault, though. The Royals offer as a trade Nick Lofton for Daniel Schneeman. No, I'm not going to do that. Prelander Berroa, dislocated shoulder. That's not good. What's also not good is that we lost this last game 7-0. 8 scoreless for Kodai Senga, while Hagen Smith continues his rough stretch. He has been stinky poo since the All-Star break. And we're back under 500, 54-55. Not playing well since the break, even with winning the series in Philadelphia against the Phillies. Since then, we are 2-7, including a 5-game losing streak. 7 out of the Tigers in the division. And we were the number 3 wild card after the series against the Phillies. Now we're 3 back. And we've got a decision to make in terms of what we want to do at the trade deadline. Do we buy or do we sell? It's going to be an uphill battle getting one of these wild card spots with teams like the Rangers and the Orioles heating up, Cleveland behind us. You'd think it's only a matter of time until they get going. We do have some pieces we could sell, particularly with some of these veteran pitchers, guys like John Gray, Paul Sewald, Brock Burke. Or we could be aggressive. We're only 3 back. I mean, it's certainly plausible that we could get one of those spots. So maybe we decide to make some big moves and make this team better and go for a run and trying to get one of those AL wildcard spots. Let me know what you think we should do down below in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. Peace out.